We all know that censorship is one of the primary tactics of the left because they have to silence our ideas, our arguments, basic irrefutable facts, and even our jokes, because if other people were to hear them, they might start seeing things our way. And since most of the left's ideas are wrong, to put it politely, they're insane, quite frankly, in most cases. So they have to resort to mass censorship in hopes of maintaining their power. They weren't happy with the widespread censorship of various topics and deplatforming countless individuals from the virtual town squares of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So they tried to do more. Their agenda of stamping out influential opposition to the Marxist agenda then expanded further, and they hoped to get Fox News, Newsmax, and OAN taken off cable and satellite TV. Oliver Darcy, the weasel-looking creature who worked as Brian Stelter's sidekick, helped amplify the idea and put out a call to action saying it's time cable providers face questions for lending their platforms to networks like Fox News, Newsmax, and OAN. The editor-in-chief of The Verge, an online outlet owned by Vox Media, one of these multi-million-dollar media conglomerates, also called for Fox News to be taken off the air several years earlier, saying that I feel we should be just as comfortable asking Comcast and Verizon and Charter why they continue to offer Fox News on their networks as we are about Facebook and Alex Jones, he said. At the time, few had even thought of such an idea or weren't so bold to try, but later calls to pull Fox News, Newsmax, and OAN from air started to grow. DirecTV would later drop OAN in April of 2022, which accounted for 90% of their revenue through what's called carriage fees, which are payments cable and satellite providers pay to channels on their service because being on the system is an incentive for people to subscribe. Their removal was celebrated by many on the left, including NAACP President Derek Johnson, who called it a victory for us, meaning black people, and the future of democracy. Eliminating the free press in America helps save democracy in his mind. Compounding OAN's problems was a lawsuit for $1 billion by the Dominion electronic voting machine company. Then, a few months later, Verizon dropped them from their TV service called Fios, too. Newsmax was dropped from DirecTV in January 2023, but later picked up again 2 months later after they came to a new agreement, perhaps in part due to Republicans in Congress denouncing the move and people canceling their DirecTV subscriptions and protest. While only bringing a small fraction of Fox News' audience at the time, Newsmax has grown into a formidable competitor to Fox and has been gaining former Fox viewers who prefer Newsmax because their programming tends to be further to the right and feels far less corporate and controlled. After Tucker Carlson was fired by Fox News without any reason being given, even more people left Fox for Newsmax. And it's long overdue that we finally have viable conservative alternatives to Fox. Especially since, much to viewer shock, they've kind of gone woke sometimes.
Well, June is Pride Month, and to celebrate, we are shining a spotlight on those in the LGBTQ plus community who work to encourage love and acceptance.
Of course, not all the shows or hosts are rhinos. Most are neocons, though, which is why Sean Hannity has Lindsey Graham on every week to lobby for more money for Israel. And when his supposed conservative network starts celebrating Pride Month, it's time to change the channel. A woman named Gigi Sohn, who President Joe Biden nominated to be one of the 5 FCC commissioners, suggested the Federal Communications Commission should pull the broadcast license for Sinclair Media's television stations, a conservative-leaning company that owns and operates like 300 local stations across America. Luckily, after her hatred of conservative media went viral, she withdrew her nomination, claiming that she was being bullied by people on the right. But the fact that such a left-wing extremist would be nominated in the first place to sit as an FCC commissioner and oversee television and radio broadcast licenses is stunning. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called on the FCC to pull Tucker Carlson off the air, claiming he was inciting violence, but she's so dense, she doesn't know that the Fox News channel isn't governed by the FCC. Only over-the-air broadcast stations are, not cable. But Tucker Carlson was fired by Fox News just a few days later, which she celebrated on an Instagram live stream where she said that deplatforming works and used the event as a fundraiser.
Deplatforming works, and it is important. And there you go. Good things can happen.
While Fox News dumped Tucker Carlson for speaking too much truth, pulling Fox News from cable and satellite systems across the country is never going to happen. Let's not forget that Fox News was one of the leading cheerleaders for the Iraq War and the hunt for the non-existent WMDs. But OAN did get pulled because they're too far to the right, and their news and commentary is seen as more threatening to the establishment. And it did happen to Newsmax back when they were smaller, although they returned a few months later after the backlash. And the fact that Democrats have even proposed the idea of banning television stations is a shocking indictment of how un-American they are and how far they're willing to go in hopes of silencing their opposition. Regular viewers know I've documented the history of censorship on social media here on my YouTube channel and more extensively in my books like The True Story of Fake News, which came out in 2017, and I even warned it would start happening over a decade ago in my 2011 book, Big Brother, The Orwellian Nightmare Come True. And when the censorship on social media first started, it was basically social media personalities who weren't household names, but who had amassed followings of hundreds of thousands of people that were getting suspended and banned. Little to no news articles are written about them when it happened. No Republican members of Congress tweeted about them. They weren't invited on Fox News for a segment to talk about it. Only others in their online community seemed to care or notice. Those of us who saw the writing on the wall did our best to ring the alarm bell about the growing problem, but it really wasn't until the Hunter Biden laptop story was blocked on social media and the New York Post suspended from Twitter back in 2020 that censorship became a major concern for the Republican Party. They didn't want to defend supposed racists like Jared Taylor, who got banned from YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and still hasn't been restored on Twitter, X, by Elon Musk, by the way. Or an Islamophobe like Laura Loomer, who got deplatformed from basically everything, including Uber Eats, because she said some things about Ilhan Omar and Islam. It was only after the censorship finally reached a brand name conservative outlet that most members of Congress finally broke their silence. But because the First Amendment only protects free speech from being censored by the government and not corporations which control communication technologies on social media platforms, people have little recourse and are held over a barrel by selectively enforced terms of service and the whims of faceless moderators who can ban anyone they want for any reason. Seeing the problem early on, however, were numerous entrepreneurs who staunchly support free speech. So they worked to create platforms by basically cloning the features of Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, but applying the type of content moderation policies that the big tech platforms used to have before they started massively restricting what people are allowed to post. And while Rumble, Gab, Getter, True Social, MeWe, Telegram, and others haven't gained the widespread user bases of the big tech platforms, millions of people use them, and they are invaluable tools for free speech, despite how niche they may seem. The Washington Post ran an article complaining about Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's reach on the alt-tech platforms after her personal Twitter account was banned in early 2020 for repeated violations of their COVID misinformation policy. The Post was stunned that she continued to reach hundreds of thousands of people. Her Twitter account was among those later restored by Elon Musk, but that's beside the point. They were so out of touch, they thought that by banning her Twitter account, she was just going to go away. Obviously, Elon Musk has done tremendous things to move the Overton window and allow a wide variety of discussions about topics that had previously been forbidden, not to mention restoring thousands and thousands of banned accounts, many of which were quite popular. James O'Keefe, Carpe Doctum, Laura Loomer, Alex Jones, although Elon did hold out for Alex for over a year, but he finally came around. And of course, Donald Trump's account. But because of the immense opposition to Elon allowing so many once banned users and topics like misgendering trans people and questioning the safety of certain vaccines, and surprisingly accounts that are basically dedicated to criticizing Israel, things that were strictly forbidden under the previous ownership and is a violation of the terms of service on all the other big tech platforms. And with Elon being largely blamed for Donald Trump winning the 2024 presidential election, it's going to be difficult for Elon to sustain enough revenue sources to keep the app financially viable in the face of ongoing advertiser boycotts and attempts to sabotage him. And he faces the very real risk of the app being banned from the duopoly of the big tech app stores. Hopefully he realizes this, but as brilliant as he has made some very obvious and very big mistakes, like selling verification badges to people without actually verifying their identity. Remember that? Less than 24 hours later, he paused the new verification system scheme after a rash of impersonation accounts became verified. Then he tried to increase revenue through subscription services like Twitter Blue, now called X Premium, which gives users a verification checkmark and some other features like the ability to post longer tweets instead of the standard 280 characters and edit them after they're posted, and a higher tier which makes it ad-free and gives users access to Grok, which is Elon's version of ChatGPT. But despite Elon's bringing on board a new CEO from the advertising industry, Linda Yaccarino, the company has struggled financially. And if you use Twitter, X, whatever, it may forever be known as Twitter. Calling it X was the worst rebrand in history, but that's a whole other story. If you use Twitter, then you know most of the advertisers aren't exactly high-quality brands. Most of the ads are awful, quite frankly. So awful that many of them even get community noted or fact-checked with the notice that the products are ripoffs or scams. So then he tried to turn it into YouTube, where people can get paid to tweet, and users can get some ad revenue share from the ads that show up in their reply threads. And while that may sound like a good idea, it has actually turned the platform into a cesspool of content thieves and engagement farmers. So now people are just downloading old viral clips of anything and everything and posting them, hoping to get people to start talking about them so that they can get the ad revenue from the engagement. People who typically tried to build a brand as a political person now just post random crap consisting of old fail videos and clips of old pranks or feminist meltdowns that went viral years ago and steal other people's memes just to get the engagement. It's pathetic. Elon monetizing Twitter, paying people to post, has actually turned the platform into an engagement farming wasteland. A social media circus of political pundits now posting off-message content in hopes of making a few bucks because the ads show up in the reply threads, which is how they get paid. So instead of focusing on trying to get out a conservative message or combating the Marxist agenda, now it's filled with popular social media personalities who used to post interesting content and links to important stories they found, now just throwing out any engagement chum they can find about any and all topics, no matter how irrelevant they are to the genre that they're in and the personal brand that they were once trying to build. I hardly tweet anymore at all. I haven't tweeted this entire year, in fact, because it's addicting by design as a social media personality, and getting sucked into pointless online arguments over there. It's just a total waste of my time. And everyone is obsessed with their mentions and which popular people liked their tweets or responded to one of their posts. So I just don't even waste my time over there anymore. I use it to monitor what's going on, but I broke the habit that virtually every social media personality has of feeling the need to post my 2 cents about every trending topic and every dumb article that comes across my feed, and trying to come up with hot takes to dunk on other people's tweets to get a dopamine hit off of a few thousand likes. I write books, not tweets. Twitter is like snacking on junk food. YouTube is a full 4-course meal, so I prefer to be right here. That's not to say it's not an important platform, but for me, I just find I end up wasting too much time on it when I start posting. I'm a YouTuber, not a Twitch, but what Elon has done for the platform is very important. He's moved the Overton window quite a bit, and it's possible that we can continue to shift the cultural pendulum in the other direction and get the big tech platforms to ease up on their censorship, at least regarding some issues. And we have, such as the origin of COVID and questioning the outcome of the 2020 election. Facebook and YouTube quietly lifted that ban in 2023 after nearly 3 years of censoring videos, including Donald Trump's CPAC speech in 2021 and 2022. Of course, there was no problem with Hillary Clinton saying things like this.
I think it's also critical to understand that, as I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
But when the shock and awe of Donald Trump becoming the president again begins to wear off, they may actually start getting more strict and more manipulative, because society is likely going to get even more polarized, with each side digging into their positions and difficult issues regarding race, mass immigration, demographic changes, and transgenderism dominating the political landscape. The left may never stop scheming, and for many years now, they've wanted to criminalize what they call hate speech in America, just like other supposed free countries around the world have, including Canada, Germany, England, Scotland, and others. Those countries arrest people for posting things on social media that hurt people's feelings or undermine the liberal agenda. Not death threats or harassment, which any reasonable person can agree should be illegal and is, But things like insulting gay people or being too critical of the Islamization of Europe from all the Muslim refugees that have flooded the West, or for posts deemed anti-Semitic. Anti-Christian hate speech is always allowed though, and anti-whiteism, because the left always has double standards. To list the cases of people arrested or fined for such violations, which include jokes, would be too long. But America should be aware that such things are happening in other Western countries, and it should serve as a warning of what could happen here. There's a reason the freedom of speech is protected by the First Amendment, because it's the most important right that we have, and it must be protected at all costs. Luckily, Donald Trump won the presidency and we have the majority, although very slim, in the House and in the Senate, but we came within an inch of losing our country. So we better make sure that we don't risk that happening again. Like I said, if you enjoy watching my series monologues like this, then you'll really love reading my books, because they contain the complete uncensored analysis with nearly 1,000 footnotes, sourcing all the material, and I get into some sensitive areas that, kind of should be avoided here on YouTube so that I don't get canceled. So head on over to Amazon.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.